and there's space for people to run. And so, I think he has seen that, and I think, a big number the last 2 weeks as he has rushed for, I think, 70 yards in the last 2 weeks, or 70 or 76 yards in the last 2 weeks. The Titans' third down conversion rate was 28% the first 9 weeks. It was 38% the last 2 weeks, and that doesn't include the 5 for 7 that they had on fourth down on Sunday. So their conversion rate was higher. They ran 66 offensive plays. As you know, Jake, that's a number that I keep bringing up as offensive plays because they're in the 40s all the time. For them to run 66 offensive plays, now you see Gunnar Helm catch 6 passes, Chig Okonkwo catch 3 passes, Chim DK catch 5 passes. Suddenly you start to see some volume for some guys because you're on the field long enough to get them the ball. Your opening drive was 15 plays. I think they had another 15-play drive, late in the game. And so, his completion percentage is up near 60% now for the season. He was right about 67% for that game. So, it's not perfect, but it's moving forward. And that's what you're looking for. And we always said that this season was about him and not about wins and losses. That doesn't mean that 1-10 is okay by any means. But what is okay is the fact that he's getting better. And that's really what you were looking for. I know everybody wants to see, Jaden Daniels, right out of the chute, or whoever, CJ Stroud right out of the chute. But long sustained improvement is usually a better way to go.
Yeah, and we've been talking about needing to see consistency from Cam Ward, and I thought that was one of his more complete games. You mentioned 15-play drive to start the day. He was moving the football. I believe he started 8 of 10 throwing the football.
Yep.
And then at the end of the game, you needed to score touchdowns late. He was able to sustain drives, made plays on third and fourth down to get to move the chains and keep those drives alive. Overall, it was probably his best game of the year, and coming off the bye week, he played well in that game against the Texans, at least better than he did in the first game against Houston.
Yes.
Then puts that game together, and now you just hope to see it continue to ascend. Again, it may not lead to more wins on the field. You hope to see another win or two, but you're at least starting to see the young quarterback is making those adjustments. And you mentioned running the football. I think that's been the biggest thing we've seen since the bye week is the willingness to tuck it and run. And it does open up way more for this offense when he can get outside the pocket and can do more than just throw the football.
Well, I mean, Mike McCoy brought it up on Monday. He loved his first pass of the game. He dropped back. He saw the seam in the middle, and he ran. It was 2nd and 10, and he ran up, or 2nd and 7, and he ran up the middle and got like 10 yards for a first down. I mean, it was there. It's an easy first down. Take it. They want to. It's like Billy Bean in Moneyball. They want to give you an out. Take it from them. Say thank you. They want to give you 10 yards. It's there. It's wide open. Take it. And his, it doesn't mean that you're a running quarterback if you take free yards. It means you're smart. Okay. And because I don't think he wants to be labeled as a running quarterback. I don't think anybody ever will label him as a running quarterback. Patrick Mahomes isn't a running quarterback, but he's extremely effective in moving the chains. They had a 2nd and 5 during the game where he ran for 4, and that sets up 3rd and 1. And what does 3rd and 1 do? It gives you options, right? And so you don't necessarily have to move the chains, but you are moving the ball forward. We saw it so many times earlier this year where he would extend a play, but he would stay behind the line of scrimmage, and he'd either end up taking a sack or throwing an incompletion. And so say it's 2nd and 10, it's now 3rd and 10 where he could have run. And even if he'd gotten 3, 4, or 5 yards, now you're looking at 3rd and short or 3rd manageable. And that's a much better place to be. It makes the playbook a lot bigger. You don't have to block as long up front if you call a quicker pass play. So I think, I think he's seeing some of that. I think the numbers bear it out. And by the way, we haven't brought up that is a nasty Seattle defense. Those guys were fast, and they were physical, and they were a handful. I mean, that's a game. The bullets were flying. Okay. And he didn't waver. They've played a lot of good defenses this year, and Seattle is another one of them. I mean, Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. I mean, those are bad men up front, and the Titans had their hands full with them. And so this isn't Cam Ward taking a step forward against a bad team. All right. This was Cam Ward taking a step forward against a really good team. And I think that makes that kind of validates it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you can take out any excuses for Cam Ward from Sunday because it's not like he was facing the worst defense in the league and had all of his weapons at his disposal. He was
Yeah.
playing a good Seahawks defense
No
and
Ridley,
was
no Io Manor. Yeah.
right going out there with a fourth round rookie, a veteran minimum guy in Van Jefferson, and a bunch of practice squatters. That was his
Yep.
receiving core, and he made the most of it.
Move the
We
ball.
got to see Xavier Restrepo for the first time. He had a couple of catches. He was on the receiving end of that nice running play from Cam Ward on third down. So right, it's not like you can say, oh well, he was playing a bad defense and his weapons were good. No, there was not a whole lot going Cam Ward's way, and he still was able to make the most of it on Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't think he threw a screen pass that went for 66 to pad his stats either.
No, he did not. And I will give Shedeur Sanders credit because he looked better than I expected him to.
Like he won
Sunday.
the game.
Right.
I'm not to spare. I just don't like people when they inflate things to be that they are not.
Right.
That's all.
You can't just box score scout and compare the numbers and say, oh, look at this. He threw a 68-yard touchdown. Well, Dylan Sampson did probably 70 yards worth of work on that play.
Now the ball to Jerry Jeudy, that's a good looking ball.
That was a great throw.
Emphasize that one. Put that one on blast. Yeah. That's a good ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you were just scouting the box score, you would never know because Jerry Jeudy fumbled on the end of that too, right?
Yeah.
He kind of tried to make a little juke move and got it poke free from behind. So, and we're going to get a head-to-head matchup almost certainly between Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward coming up in about a week and a half.
The problem with that matchup is that Cam Ward has to face Myles Garrett,
right?
who's a freak of nature.
Yeah, 18 sacks this season for Myles Garrett. And I was talking with Nick Frazier yesterday of what if we get a repeat of the Titans just motioning a tight end back and forth over and over, trying to make sure that Myles Garrett doesn't get a one-on-one matchup.
Yeah.
It's not easy to face that defense. And I'm not sure if the Titans are going to be able to win that game, but you'd like to see Cam Ward at least outplay Shedeur Sanders in that game to avoid some of those narratives starting to pop up.
You know, with the Browns playing the 49ers this week, after watching the 49ers on Monday night, I'm not sure that I'm not sure the Browns don't give them a run with their defense.
Yeah. No, I agree. The Browns can win games with their defense.
Yeah.
They don't need a whole lot offensively if they're going to win football games. And that's why in Cleveland in a week and a half in early December, I'm not counting on the Titans to win that game. I'm not counting on the Titans to win any game, in fact. But, we'll see if Cam Ward's development can maybe lead to a second mark in the win column. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll keep talking Titans here in the first half of the show. Again, it is a shortened show today. We are only with you until 10:30. We'll hand it off to Kevin Ingram and Tim Thompson there from the Bahamas as Vanderbilt men's basketball faces Western Kentucky in game one of the Battle for Atlantis. Coming up next, we'll continue to talk about the Titans offense and special teams. Jim Dike with another huge punt return touchdown on Sunday against the Seahawks. And we touched on Xavier Restrepo's debut. We'll talk a little bit more about what he did and what he could do moving forward. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 1025 The Game. Vanderbilt men's basketball takes on Western Kentucky, 11 a.m. tip-off, and the pregame show starts at 10:30 right after us here on 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby with you on this Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Thanksgiving holiday, if you're either done working or finishing up work today. Titans falling to 1-10 on Sunday after a 30-24 loss against the Seahawks. They will be back in action at Nissan Stadium, ending this long homestand against the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. And Cory, Chimdike has turned into a star in the making for this team, leads the league in all-purpose yardage. And after 13 years without a punt return touchdown for the Titans, he has 2 in the last month. 90 yards on Sunday against the Seahawks. Looking like an absolute steal for Mike Borgonzi in his first draft to get Chimdike at the top of the 4th round.
Well, not only that, had a third one called back. Remember earlier this year, was that against the Rams?
Yes, it was.
That Galpapa Cedric Gray penalty. So yeah, I mean, he could have 3. He is averaging 23 yards per punt return,
wow.
which is a staggering number. And it's become a real weapon for the Titans. Unfortunately, we're now at the point where you have to assume teams are going to start kicking it out of bounds. At least that's what I would do.
Yeah.
But he has become a weapon, and you've seen he needs to get the ball in the receiving game, as well. Because that's it's going to be interesting to see how other teams handle this. And this is a really interesting game in the kicking game, because the Titans are number 1 in punt returns. The Jaguars are number 2 in punt returns. The Jaguars are number 2 in punt coverage. All right. So they're very good at covering punts. So for the Titans to have a chance in this one, they still need to find a way to excel in special teams. If they can come up with a big return, certainly not give up a big return, it would go a long way in this game. But Jacksonville actually has been very good in special teams this year, along with the Titans. And that's, when you got the Titans and the Jags, you usually don't have a ton of intriguing matchups, but that's kind of an intriguing matchup. And back to Chimdike specifically, I don't know if you remember this, but when they named him the punt returner for the opening game, all I heard was grumbling from everyone. Kind of like when they drafted him, you're grumbling from everyone. And all this guy has done is prove everyone wrong each step of the way. And the only question I have is, how did Florida hold him back?
Right. And it was funny with Bones Fossil a week before the season started said, oh, well, I don't think he's earned that right to be the punt returner yet. And now obviously we're seeing what he's been able to do this year. But you're right. In the offensive side, he has basically become the Titans' number 1 wide receiver with who they have available right now. And he scored a touchdown on Sunday at the very end, had 5 catches. He's a guy that you can build around. And I'm not saying that he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver, but he is a playmaker, a threat to take the top off the defense that the Titans just really have not had in a very long time.
Well, they've needed speed. They've needed speed all over the field. And he is a one guy who brings, legitimate 4.3 speed. You watch him play, he is very smooth with the football. He just kind of glides across the ground, and has very good field vision. He's able. Not everybody is able to run at top speed and see the field, and he can. And so that's one of his things. He is, like you said, he's leading the league in all-purpose yards. He is on pace to set the NFL single season all-purpose yards record, not by much, and doing it in 17 games and not 16. Derek Mason is second all time. Darren Sproles is first. So he's also on pace then, of course, to beat Derek Mason's record. But again, that's a 16-game record, and this will be done in 17 games. But Chim can't do anything about that. All he can do is perform.
Right, and he has been a bright spot for this Titans team that has needed some in a 1-10 season. To the opposite end of the speed spectrum, Xavier Restrepo made his debut on Sunday against the Seahawks, and he got more playing time than I expected him to.
16 snaps.
I thought, right, and 6 targets, which Cam Ward and
clearly looking for him.
Right, right. Cam Ward wanted to get the ball in his friend's hands, and six targets, 2 catches.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd like him to catch more, but
Yeah.
he did make a couple of plays. You could see the connection of Cam knew where Xavier Restrepo was trying to go when the play broke down on that third down, and then came up a yard shy of a touchdown. So Xavier Restrepo, I think, played more than I expected, played better than I expected,
Mm-hmm.
and again, you're 1-10 with 6 games to go. I don't see the harm in continuing to give him reps out there.
No, see what you got, see what he could do. I mean, not everyone has straight line speed. Some guys have okay straight line speed, but really good, short burst quickness, lateral
Right.
movement. And maybe he's one of those guys. I mean, not every package is the same. All right. And not everybody succeeds the same way. We always talk about Anquan Bolden. He was not a fast player, but he was a great player.
Yep.
Jerry Rice was not a burner, but nobody ever caught him with the ball in his hands. Julian Edelman, shaped a lot like Xavier Restrepo, right? I mean, and so, you're 1-10. It's not going to hurt to see, what you've got, to see, how much a part of your future that he could be, because we don't know. It's just like with Cam Ward. Everybody wants to say that they know that he's, going to be this NFL player or not going to be. I don't know. I mean, he caught 2 passes, which is, 2 more than a lot of other guys have caught. So that's a decent start. And I'm sure if you asked him, he would tell you he should have caught the touchdown pass. Because he did get a hand on it. He was in double coverage, but ball was there and he had a hand on it. But he didn't embarrass himself out there. I know that much. And the Titans put 7 points on the board with him on the field. So, let's take a look. I mean, what's it going to hurt?
Yeah. He did not look like he was a fish out of water, right? Like he looked like he belonged on an NFL field, which is a long way from saying that he's going to be a starting level NFL wide receiver for this team, but he looked like he belonged, and we'll see what he can do the rest of the way. I struggle to believe that he's going to turn into this star, and there are examples of it, of undrafted guys. You mentioned Julian Edelman, who I believe he also started as a scout team guy who was playing safety on scout team.
Wasn't he
before
a quarterback
he finally,
at some point?
He was a quarterback at Kent State.
That's okay. That's what I thought.
So
is Jacoby Myers, who's playing with the Jaguars right now.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he was traded over from the Raiders. So
yeah.
Xavier Restrepo, it was a decent debut for a guy who I don't know if he's going to even be a part of this team next year, but at the very least, you've got a guy that you can take a look at the rest of the season and hope that he can add some depth for this team, because as we've seen, that wide receiver room is desperately in need of some depth.
Yeah. Well, I'll be shocked if he's not a part of this team next year. Yeah, on at least the practice squad level. We'll wait and we see, because they need numbers there. You have to wonder if it's the end of the line for Mason Kinsey. Bryce Oliver is an outstanding special teams player. I still think he can play receiver in this league as well. He's just unfortunately been hurt this year because, there was opportunity for him this year and he just was unable to seize it because of the knee injury. So you feel like Bryce Oliver will be back because he is a core special teams player. And then, you think Calvin Ridley is going to be gone, very likely. And so,
yes,
they're going to need people at that position. I don't know. You would think they draft another one. I don't know what Van Jefferson's future is. I don't know if they like him as just like, a 5, having that veteran out there who I don't know. I mean, because he's for what they signed him to be, he's been fine. I mean,
he's been exactly what you expected.
And so, the way that group gets put together, it could also depend on who the head coach is and what he wants to do. But there will always be a value on special teams. And, I think DK and Oliver are clearly guys who perform special team roles in that wide receiver room, which open it up for other guys to just be wide receivers.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go to our phone lines. Trey is on the line wanting to chime in. Trey, thanks for calling.
Good morning.
What you got for us today?
Good morning. Hey, I was just want to say, y'all was coming in about Restrepo. Hey, I like that he was in there. I think he needed that opportunity. Cam needed him to be in there. I think they could be dynamic coming up. I would keep him in the lineup. I'll let him play the rest of the season because he's going to add value to the team, with Cam, especially in the beginning of next year. If he keep putting in the work, I think he could be a decent player. I'm not going to say he's going to be a number one, but he can be decent. And if he gives Cam the help and if they get another receiver, and I wouldn't even go out of the state. We got pretty good receivers here at Vanderbilt and at Tennessee, like Brazel and all those big dudes. I wouldn't even shop outside of the state because we could get a good first, second round or third round receiver to help the team. And I think things are looking up. I just want Cam to continuously to play better. I know it was garbage stats, so to speak, but I think he's coming along. I'm getting there, y'all. Y'all have a good day and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, I don't
Happy
think
Thanksgiving, Trey.
I don't think there was anything garbage about his stats.
No, they were trying to fight their way back into the game.
No, it was a football game. It was a football game. There's no question about it. It was a football game. It wasn't 45-3. All right. It was a football game. They were an onside kick away from having a chance to win the football game, which is the NFL, right? They played 3 straight games that have been one possession games against teams with winning records. And, as you're looking for baby steps, that's baby steps. You need to win games. You need to be more complete. You need to perform for all 4 quarters. I get all that. But they've been more competitive than they were at the end of the Brian Callahan era, where they were not very competitive. Okay. And so, I think you can say they're getting better. I don't want to call Xavier Restrepo dynamic. All right. I don't. I do want to see what he can do. All right. I do want to see what he can do. And that's I want to see what Bryce Oliver can do, but I can't because he's hurt. All right. These young guys that are unproven, I want to see what they can do. They'll answer the rest of those questions for us.
615-737-1025. Let's go back to our phone line. Scott is also on the line wanting to chime in about Xavier Restrepo. Scott, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. How you doing this morning?
Great.
Doing great.
Yeah, I had called in yesterday, and you are basically saying what I was saying yesterday. I completely agree with Restrepo. Like you said, given where we're at with the season, he needs to stay in the game.
Sure.
He came in and contributed in a short time Sunday. Imagine what he can do if he's out there, all 4 quarters. And it's undeniable the chemistry him and Cam had. And by the way, I did see a post-game interview of Restrepo, I believe it was in the locker room on Instagram. And the guy talked basically as a vet. And he did say, hey, that was my fault. I should have caught that ball in the end zone. He talked about how he went to Cam on the sidelines and was like, that was on me. And it's almost like he's, talking, sounded like a veteran, talking.
Yeah, look, he's a guy who works. Mike McCoy talked about it. We all see it. He's a 5 a.m. guy with Cam Ward. He's one of the first guys on the field Sunday when he knew he was playing. There's no question that he knows the work that it takes, the commitment that it takes. And every time we've talked to him, you talk about having that veteran presence. He's a team guy first. He's never going to put himself first. He's always going to talk about opportunity, seizing an opportunity, but doing it for the team. And, veterans, quarterbacks and receivers will also say, the receiver will say, I should have caught it. The quarterback will say, I could have thrown a better ball. When guys don't say that, there's a problem.
Right. And also, I know I've said it before, but, I think people need to get over the 4.8 run time. The weeks leading up to that bad run, he was consistently running a 4.5, and I keep going back. I think he makes me think of Welker and Amendola. They were like 4'6", 470 guys. To some of some of the best slot receivers in the NFL. I mean, I think he could be that guy for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of 4'6" guys out there.
Yeah, and also, as far as Cam's stats, I mean, yeah, he earned them. I mean, he was in duress every snap.
Yeah, Sunday,
and the guy's got heart, and it was impressive to see what he could do. Being under duress like that. I don't want to see him get hurt. That rush touchdown. That was great seeing him fight for it, but save that for the AFC Championship or Super Bowl game or something. I just don't want to see him get hurt doing something like that.
Well, I think they would like him to limit some of the hits he takes. I think they would like to see him throw the ball away sooner instead of taking so many hits.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you letting me chime in. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Scott. Happy Thanksgiving. Good stuff there. I agree. Cam Ward, like to see the fight to get in the end zone, but that probably wasn't the spot where you wanted him to go full outstretch trying to get in.
You know what?
But
you get in.
He finally got his first rushing touchdown.
You get in when you can get in, because there are no guarantees from the one. We saw that. All right. So
very good point.
So I will take that hit. Like Mike McCoy talked about on Monday, when he's out of the pocket and he holds on to the ball, looking for something, get rid of it, take incomplete, instead of taking 200-300-pound guys hitting you and going on to the next play. It's learning discretion. It's learning to minimize damage, to the team and to your body, so that, you're selective on when you put yourself in jeopardy. And to get in the end zone is one of those times, in my opinion, especially on a team that's proven there's no guarantee from 1 yard out.
It's a very good point. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Tomorrow, the NFL game of the week is the Chiefs and the Cowboys at 3:30 p.m. on 1025 The Game. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Massaro in 12 South. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 1025 The Game. The Commodores will take on the Tennessee Volunteers this Saturday. Pregame begins at 1 p.m. on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan, with the kickoff at 2:30. Vanderbilt football is brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby with you on this Wednesday. Cory, before we move on from the Titans, got to get to one of our favorite topics on the show, the tight ends. Chig and Gunner have continued to make plays. Chig Okonkwo leads the team in receiving right now, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised by. But when I looked at the stats, I saw Chig at the top of the receiving board, and I said, wow, he might be playing himself into a contract.
Well, I mean, he continues to average right about three catches per game, which puts him at 50 catches, which is what he's been the last couple of years. And I would like to see him be a 4 or 5 catch per game guy. And I'd love to see him get 75 touches during the season. And so because again, I like Gunnar Helm. I like the catch radius. I like the hands. He needs to come up with that third down ball that Cam threw him on Sunday. But Chig can do things with the ball in his hands that Gunnar can't. And so I continue to want to see him get opportunities to catch the ball and turn it upfield. I don't know if he's in their plans or not. If you're going to tell me it's because he's not a good blocker, well, Gunner's not a good blocker either. So, I mean, there was a play in Sunday's game where Gunner didn't even get out of his stance and the guy was by him. All right. So neither of them are going to light the world on fire blocking. But as I've said before, and I will say again, coaching is about putting players in position to do things they do well. And there are a couple of things he does well. And I think there's room on a 53-man roster for a guy like him. And if the Titans don't sign him, somebody else is, and somebody else is going to give him the football. And you're going to say, well, why didn't we do that? Or why didn't he do that here? And I'm going to say, because they didn't do that. All right. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. He's going to get a contract somewhere. It's just a matter of whether they want it to be here or not.
And I don't think it would be all that expensive to bring him back. Maybe 2 years, $6-7 million, somewhere in there. I didn't even mean to do it. It just kind of came out like that. Completely unintentional. But I think you bring him back and you feel good about tight end heading into next year with Chig and Gunnar Helm. And you don't have to spend resources there, except for maybe you go get a pure blocking tight end to be your third guy. Yeah.
I mean, and they've still got Martin Robinson, who's more of a bigger physical guy. I don't know. I don't know what, again, it's going to depend on the next coach, but, I don't know what Mike Borgonzi's plan is for these guys in that position. They do need a guy. They do need a clear cut, dual guy, a guy who can block in that situation, and really get it done. I'm trying to find what Chig Okonkwo Spot Track a lot of times will project what a guy's
market value.
Yeah, what their market value is. So I'm seeing if I can find that on Spot Track right now. Because I would think, between 5 and 8 million, per year.
Right.
But, that might be crazy. I don't know. And, I would think he can get a multi-year deal somewhere. But that remains to be seen. So we'll see.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Howie. Howie, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm enjoying the show this morning. I have a question, but I really like how you guys are talking about how Okonkwo maybe could be working his way into another contract, talking about Helm and his awesome talents, both very talented tight ends. And I guess I have a summarizing question about the whole receiving core, in that basically, could we win with these guys? Because there's a lot of chatter on Titans Twitter about we just need a number one receiver, a true number one receiver. But when I look at these guys now, Aya Manor, who had a great start to the season and he faded off. Of course, DK is rising. And I compare them to Titans greats like Derek Mason and Drew Bennett. Derek Mason had like 11 receptions for 186 yards his first season. You know, look at who he is, what he became. You know, Drew Bennett had 4 receptions, 55 yards in his rookie season. I mean, Frank Leitchik had 16 receptions, 113 yards. These guys that we're talking about now, you know, Helm, you know, and DK Amer, I'm just saying, they could become something. And so I just wonder, do you guys think we need to kind of just pump the brakes on always looking in the draft and just maybe see what we got here for the next year? And thanks so much for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
thanks for the call, Howie.
I think, you know, the Titans have the mantra now of draft and develop. And I think that has to include continuing to develop some of the guys that you've got. Okay. You know, you have to be able to do that. And not every player that you sign or keep has to be a $15-20 million per year player. And so, I think you can re-sign Chigakonkwo. It's just, what do you want him to be on your football team? You know, what is he looking to be on a football team? Because I go back to Delaney Walker as a free agent. You know, the Titans let Jared Cook walk, and they went and they got Delaney Walker, who was kind of a backup and a special teams ace for the 49ers. And they said, you're going to be our number 1 tight end. And he said, great, I want to be a number 1 tight end. That's you know, and I think he was behind Vernon Davis at the time. Vernon Davis was pretty good. And so, you know, he came here, he got that opportunity, and obviously excelled, was really a fantastic Titan. And so, you know, the Titans may want him back, but there may be somebody, and this is the danger of letting guys get to free agency, is there may be somebody who wants him more. You know, there might be, you know, say like Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh is like, hey, you know, give me Chigakonkwo, we can do this with him. He's, you know, it's like when the Patriots overpaid for Jonnu Smith. They gave him like $12 million a year, but they had no plan for him, which was staggeringly stupid from the genius. But that's what they did. You know, you're worth what somebody will pay you. Now, if you really want to keep people, you're better off re-signing them while they're still under contract, because no one else can negotiate with them. You just don't know. Would Chig be willing to negotiate, or his people be willing to negotiate right now? You know, or would they rather just feel better about going to free agency when you can weigh contracts against each other?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think Howie makes a good point that you do have pieces that you can build around, but I still think this team is missing an alpha number 1 wide receiver.
Absolutely.
And that's something you only find at the top of the draft.
Look,
so
I'm agreeing with what you're saying here, because, like, you know, Io Manor and DK, you're feeling like are a step up from you know, Nick Westbrook, Akine, and some of these other guys that you've been rolling out there for years. You know, you feel like one of these guys, or both of them, could eventually be 1,000-yard type receiver. And I know that sounds like a lot. It's not. I mean, it's 60 yards a game. Okay. It's 60 yards a game. So if I told you, hey, you know, Chim DK can be a guy who averages 5 catches for 60 yards a game, would that blow you away? Would you say, no way? I mean, no, that seems reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, that's all we're looking at. So I think they're part of the solution. All right. But you still got to have, like you said, you still got to have stars. You know, look at the Cowboys. They've got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Okay. you just want one of them. All right. You just want one of them at this point, and they need to go out and find, you know, that guy. And maybe one of these guys is that guy in development, but they're going to have to prove it first. They both look like nice pieces. We'll see. Answering the question, they definitely look like a part of the solution.
100%. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Looking for a great spot to pregame on Sunday before the Titans game? Stop by John Bon Jovi's and pregame with 1025 The Game. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer and cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. The pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Circa Sportsbook, Kentucky. We're going to flip over to college football next. Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up on Saturday. Showdown in state over at Neyland Stadium. Commodores trying to play their way into the playoffs, and Diego Pavia may be playing for the Heisman Trophy. We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 1025 The Game. Saturday's college football game of the week is Vanderbilt at Tennessee at 2:30 p.m. on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Finishing up hour number one of our shortened show. We're with you till 10:30 before Vandy men's basketball takes over from down in Atlantis. Cory, we're going to preview Vandy and Tennessee coming up at the top of the hour, but there is a larger story around Diego Pavia coming into this game. Maybe not larger, equal. Diego Pavia fighting for the Heisman Trophy. And I said yesterday on the show, I think that Diego Pavia, as of right now, deserves to win the Heisman Trophy. It was not looking great for him heading into November. The stats didn't quite match up with the story of what he was doing for Vanderbilt football. But now he has better stats than most of the other candidates. And I think as of right now, he deserves it with still 1 week to go in the regular season and, of course, conference championships.
Well, as a voter, I guess I'm a little limited on what I can say. But
right. That's a very good point.
I will say that there were a lot of complaints that his stats didn't line up. Well, he's thrown and run for over 1,300 yards the last 3 games. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. If you compare him just statistically with the other Heisman candidates, his numbers are better, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you just want to go on numbers, his numbers are better. I think now, like, if you want to argue if a guy is a better quarterback or a better player, we can have
better
that
NFL prospect.
Yeah, we can have that argument. The thing that I will continue to say, which I don't think is an arguable situation, he's the most important player in college football. He is more important to his team than any player in college football. I think Curt Cignetti, in just 2 years in Indiana, has shown he'll find a quarterback, plug him into his system, and go. Right? He's done it. He's brought in 2, rando guys.
Yeah. Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza.
Nobody was talking about these guys. All right. And they come to Indiana, they play for Cignetti, and they put up big numbers. Ty Simpson, people were ready to give him the trophy a month ago, and now he's not even in the top 5. All right.
Right.
And then, you've got Sand at Ohio State. The numbers, I mean, I think his completion percentage is up over 80%. It's, you can't really argue with that. It's really good. I mean, he's a good football player surrounded by really good football players. But every play that Vanderbilt run or pass, runs through Diego Pavia. Every run play runs through him. He has to be accounted for on every run play. Not every. I don't know if there's another player that can say that. Maybe Marcel Reed, maybe. But he's not the running threat that Pavia is. And so, his overall importance every play. And I do think it's important the way his swagger and confidence, it's part of it. It's part of the package because it's changed the team. He absolutely, his attitude has helped change the team. And I think that people who aren't around it or see it enough don't appreciate that enough. They find him annoying. They find him brash. And they
don't like his mom being on TV.
Yeah. But they're not understanding the whole package. I guess that's my whole thing, is they're not understanding the whole package. They're 9-2. Okay. I don't know if you put any of those other quarterbacks on this football team, if they're 9-2. He is literally the straw that stirs the drink. And, I hope more people look and pay attention to it. These other guys are great players. Jeremiah Love is a great player. I would love to see him in a Titans uniform next year. Okay. Marcel Reed from NBA, dad was the TSU head coach, is a great football player. Justin Sands, a great football player. Mendoza's having a great year. I'm not going to disparage any of those guys, but if Pavia is not on your ballot for one of the top 3, because you get 3 spots to vote in, 1, 2, and 3, if he's not one of those, I have a hard time with that.
Yeah. And I think if Pavia was to lose, it would be because he just fell victim to the quarterback on the best team of you're going to get Mendoza versus Sayan in the Big Ten championship. Winner of that game is going to get the number 1 seed in the college football playoff, and maybe they win it. But Diego Pavia putting up the stats that he's had this year and taking Vandy to its first 10-win regular season in program history, that has to mean something. And I think a good game in a win against Tennessee not only should cement a seat for him in New York, but give him a puncher's chance at winning the trophy in a couple of weeks.
Jake, he could put up 400 yards again in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about passing. I'm talking about overall. He could throw for 350 and run for 80 and put 30 points on the board again. Tennessee's defense, I know they were good last week, but much of the season they've given up a lot of points. We expect this game to be a shootout. And if he doesn't win this game, it's going to be more difficult for him. Okay. It's going to be more difficult for him at 9-3 than it is at 10-2. At 10-2,
sure.
If you're not paying attention, I don't know what to do for you. I don't know what to do for you. But it's an amazing story. We talk about Cam Ward's story. He had 0 offers. 0. All right. He was junior college, and he's gone from 3rd string junior college quarterback to us sitting here talking about him. Should he win the Heisman? The best player in college football. It's a staggering story about perseverance and undying belief in yourself. And that's what he has.
It's been unbelievable. And he's got to be able to perform on Saturday in Neyland Stadium if he's going to be able to win the Heisman Trophy and if Vanderbilt is going to make the college football playoff. We'll have that discussion coming up next. We've got 30 more minutes with you, leading you up to Vanderbilt men's basketball taking on Western Kentucky coming up at 11 a.m. Pregame starting at 10:30. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby with you for 30 more minutes, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking college football for the final two segments of the show. Again, Vandy men's basketball coming up at the bottom of the hour pregame with Kevin and Tim as the Commodores start the Battle for Atlantis tournament taking on Western Kentucky. Vanderbilt football in Knoxville this weekend, 2:30 kickoff, 1 o'clock pregame on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. And Cory, Vandy obviously needs to win that game to have any shot to make the college football playoff. You're not getting in at 9-3, and the way the rankings are sorting out right now, it might be tough for them to get in at 10-2.
Yeah.
Last night, I was fully expecting Vanderbilt to at least move up one spot over Utah.
Yep.
Right? Like Vandy, they got their style points against Kentucky. They were up 45-3 in that game before pulling the starters. They made a statement. Utah was down 10 with 2 minutes left to a bad Kansas State team and gave up 47 total points to Kansas State. And for some reason, the committee didn't seem to value Vanderbilt's win more than Utah's win. So Vandy stays at 14, still behind Utah, Miami, BYU. If they want to get into the playoff, you have to be in the top 10.
Well, it still has to be brand at this point, right? Because if you put a Gator or an LSU or an Auburn on the side of that helmet with their resume, they're in the top 12, right?
I would think so. Vanderbilt has a better strength of record, which it is not the end-all, be-all. There has to be other factors in there, and I know the committee has said the eye test. Yesterday, for some reason, they referenced
good.
Well, they referenced Carson Beck's passing yards over the last 3 weeks as a reason why Miami moved up. Well Diego Pavia has like 1,200 passing yards in the last 3 games.
They need to stop talking because they just keep contradicting themselves.
Or making 6-7 jokes like they did last night on the rankings reveal. I don't understand. Again, Vanderbilt, better strength of record. The eye test is part of it. I mean, Notre Dame dropped 70 on Syracuse this past weekend, trying to continue to get style points. But Vandy has a better strength of record than Notre Dame, Miami, and Utah, and sits behind all three of them heading into the final week of the regular season.
By the way, I think Notre Dame had 42 points on the board after running a total of 5 offensive plays.
They did. They had 2 pick sixes in that game. I said yesterday, Syracuse, those players had families. I don't know. Notre Dame left. There was no mercy on the field.
Yeah, but
Sunday,
I mean, like when you're
Notre
scoring
Dame
on defense and special teams, what do you want them to do? I mean,
right. I mean, I don't. Right. And I get it. This is not the NFL where every game means the same.
And by the way, they're all getting paid now. So
yes,
we don't. I don't think that standard necessarily applies that we used to have with college players. They're all pros now. They're all getting paid.
That's true.
They can take their lumps. That was a road game against a top 25 team. That was impressive. But no, I mean Vanderbilt's their strength of schedule. You know, they had 3 wins that were over top 15 teams when they played them. They can't help it that those teams faded. That's not their fault. It happened. The Utah thing is troubling, but like I'm confident if they were to beat Tennessee this weekend, they will leapfrog Utah in the standings. There would be no ignoring that, no denying that. That would have to happen. You know, the question is, can they leapfrog Miami? Can they leapfrog somebody else, or do they need somebody else to lose? And I always say this stuff never happens like you think it's going to. There's going to be somebody who loses this weekend who you don't expect to, because that just happens. I mean, maybe it's Alabama against Auburn. Maybe it's, Notre Dame against whoever they're playing. Maybe, I don't know. But history says somebody's going to lose who shouldn't. And again, Vanderbilt has to win at Tennessee, and that's kind of a toss-up right now. I think we would all agree to that. That's a 50-50 game. But for them to not be, in a better spot is troubling, and it just seems like we keep hearing these excuses made for these other teams that don't hold water against Vanderbilt. because you could make those same arguments for Vanderbilt, but they don't. And I don't understand why, I don't understand their desire to keep Vanderbilt out. They're a great story. They're a great story. I mean, they have the quarterback is a great story. The team is a great story. It's a hot city in America. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. But I'm interested to see, if they get held out at 10-2, not just what their reaction is. What is Greg Sankey's reaction to the entire situation?
I agree, and I think a top 20 road win against your rival this weekend, if Vandy can go in and beat Tennessee, you would hope that bumps you over Utah. I mean, it would have to, right? Like, that is a huge data point that would put Vandy over Utah. I would hope it puts them over Miami, too. Like, Miami, they have the Notre Dame win, but that's really the only thing they have to hang their hat on.
Yep.
They lost to Louisville. They lost to SMU. I think a win this weekend has to put Vandy over those two teams. And then you need one of the other SEC teams to lose. That you need Oklahoma or Alabama to lose, because there's not going to be 6 teams out of the SEC that get in. One of those teams has to lose, because their 10-2 resume-wise is clearly above your 10-2 with the wins that those two teams have. Alabama has a win against you. So you're rooting hard for LSU and Auburn this weekend, because I think that is the one big domino outside of your own game that needs to fall if Vandy's going to get into the playoff.
Yeah, and like I said, right now it seems impossible to think that LSU would beat Oklahoma, especially after the way they played against Western Kentucky. But I'm just telling you, every year there's one of these games that happens that you don't expect to happen. I mean, or more. I mean, Ole Miss losing to Kentucky, LSU losing at Florida last year. Nobody saw that coming, but it happened.
Right.
And so it may not happen. I'm not an idiot, but I'm just saying history says somebody's going to lose who you don't expect. Now, it might be Texas A&M. It might be Ole Miss. It might be a team that's safe. All right. And so they lose, but they're safe. And so that remains to be seen. But, all you can do is put your best foot forward. And I guess, either way, all this does is create more steam for a 16-team field.
Yes, I think so. And you're right about Greg Sankey of what his reaction is going to be. Maybe that's something that pushes the SEC into being in favor of a 16-team playoff, however that may appear in the next couple of years.
I'm sure the SEC would be in favor of 24-team playoff.
Yeah, as long as the auto bids don't all go to the Big Ten.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they feel like they could get probably 12 teams in to a 24-team field.
It wouldn't be impossible. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kenny the mailman is on the line. Kenny, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hello, good friends. How are you?
Good.
Doing great.
Listen, I'm not going to let the playoff committee get me upset. It's been just a magical season for Vandy. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. They cannot run it for me. But here, I can describe to you right quickly how they do it. Have y'all ever seen an archery contest?
An archery contest? Well, I've seen people shoot bow and arrow, yeah.
Well, you can picture the target in your mind, the red, the green, the yellow circles. Well, what they do, they just put a blank target, shoot the arrow, and then run down there and draw a circle around where the arrow is.
That's a pretty good comparison.
Literally, they have a floating idea of what they want each time they describe it. They'll move teams up 4 times on an average win or loss. So I'm not going to let that run it for me. Saturday means really more to me than getting in the playoffs. Listen to this, Cory. I'm 63 years old, okay? Do you know how many times we've had manned lunar landings on the moon?
Twice, right?
6.
6, okay.
Do you know how many times Vanderbilt has won in Knoxville in my lifetime?
6?
4. So
it's more likely that we land on the moon.
Yeah, it's harder for Vanderbilt to win in Knoxville than men to land on the moon. So I will not take this for granted at all. I'd be happy with even a close game. So they're not going to ruin this season. It might be a one-of-a-kind year, but I'll always remember it, and I am buying the T-shirt.
Kenny, I'm
Y'all
interested in
have a
this
great day.
lunar landing thing. How is that all United States landings on the moon, or is that
Yeah,
world
we've
landing?
been the only ones on the moon that we know of.
Okay,
I'm not
that we
counting
know
the little
of.
green men.
What's on the
Y'all
back side of the moon, Kenny? We don't
we
know.
don't know other than Pink Floyd.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the Chinese just sent a drone around to the backside of the moon. I think they were the first ones to do it. So maybe they know what's there.
Well, they do. Y'all have a great day.
Later.
Thanks, Kenny. Happy Thanksgiving. Clay, we see you on the line. We will get to you on the other side. We got one more segment with you before we hand it off to Vandy men's basketball. The MTSU Blue Raiders will take on New Mexico State this Saturday at 2 p.m. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning is having a coat drive this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Mount Juliet Chamber of Commerce. This will be collecting newer, gently used coats and jackets and will go to Mount Juliet needy families. Also, come out and root on Vanderbilt football this Saturday with 102.5 The Game at Germantown Pub, located at 708 Monroe Street in Nashville, starting at 2 p.m. Win great prizes and cheer for Vandy as they take on the Tennessee Volunteers this Saturday at Germantown Pub. We've got just a couple more minutes with you. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Brandon Bigsby, next man up. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Clay is on the line. Clay, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Now, Jake, I don't want you to take this personally, but
Yep.
I decided to call because I definitely have to call when Cory's on.
All right.
I just, kind of have a thing for guys that do sports locally. So, because, literally when I watch the sports, that's all I watch. I don't watch the news because I don't care about who shot John. So, anyway, I don't remember a time in my lifetime when Vanderbilt, if you want to say these are the four main sports in baseball, football, basketball, men's and women's, all four teams are now ranked because the men's team got ranked 24th this week.
Averaging 103 points a game.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm actually headed to watch the game right now. But I wanted to talk about what I thought was a really cool moment last Saturday. Let's face it, there's probably never going to be another Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt.
Nope.
I mean, what this guy's done for Vanderbilt football, regardless of what the committee thinks. But, this guy has put Vanderbilt football on the map. This guy has done so many things for Vanderbilt football. He's the ultimate competitor. He's a warrior. I mean, this guy has passed, I think, for like 1,300 yards in the last 3 games. That's pretty amazing. I think he had, 530 yards or something like that against Kentucky. And it was just a really cool moment, I think, when he did this curtain call to come out of the game. That's something I'll never forget. I kind of compare it to the game he had in his last game at First Bank. I kind of compare that to the game that Shane Foster had his senior night.
Against Mississippi State. Yeah, that was a memorable game.
Yeah. But, I'm glad I've gotten to watch this guy play for the last 2 years. I've gotten to where I don't really care, I mean, I do, but I don't. If the committee doesn't want us in there, well, there's nothing we can do about that. I know that Vanderbilt's one of the best 12 teams in the country. I do know that. And I think we have a better overall football team than the University of Tennessee. And we just got to go to Knoxville Saturday and prove it.
Yeah, I mean, and you get that chance. That's the great thing. And you can only beat the team that's in front of you. You can only play the games that are put in front of you. And unfortunately, like you said, it's out of their hands. You've got 2 losses that are 2 tough road losses, Alabama and Texas. I mean, those are tough teams, tough places to play. But I'll never forget the first time I saw Diego Pavia. I went to Vanderbilt football practice, and I was trying to pick out who the guy I heard was going to be the starting quarterback, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And you watch some guys. You watch practice, and it doesn't do. You have no idea what they are, and then when the lights come on, they become, it's like Clark Kent. It's like they come out of the phone booth. And that's Diego Pavia. And look, I'm not advocating building the guy a statue outside of First Bank Stadium. But when you talk about Vanderbilt football for the next 20, 30, 40 years, I mean, Diego Pavia is going to be one of the first names that comes up because he is a guy, who absolutely changed the culture and the performance of the football team because he had the audacity to believe in himself and in his team, and it was infectious.
Yep, and he has an opportunity. You have a great Thanksgiving too, Clay. Thanks for calling. And he makes a good point. Sports all across Vanderbilt's campus doing well.
Yep.
The men coming up in just a little bit. We're going to get you off to pregame coverage here in about 2 minutes. And the women's team playing tomorrow night, Thanksgiving night, 7 o'clock tip against Oregon State. I'll be on the air on 94.9 The Fan at 6:45. Before we get out of here, Adam from Portland is on the line. Want to squeeze him in with some Titans thoughts. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got?
No, I just want to tell you guys happy Thanksgiving, man. Nashville sports sucks so bad right now. I'm thankful that we still get something to talk about, even though Nashville sports sucks. So happy Thanksgiving to you fellas.
Yeah,
happy Thanksgiving.
I've said Vanderbilt football being good has thrown the balance of the universe off, and that's why everybody else is terrible right now because Vanderbilt football is good, and so the galaxy is not in balance. But before we go, happy Thanksgiving, and I do want to say the Vanderbilt men averaging 103 points a game, spectacular. Tennessee men, huge win yesterday over the Houston Cougars. Really good performance there. And you've got the ladies tomorrow, and they've got something special brewing. Aubrey Galvin, the freshman, I don't know if people paid attention to the game she put up the other day. 16 points, 15 assists, 9 steals as a true freshman, and she's only, what, 5'6"? 5'8".
She's 5'6". Yeah, playing her 6th collegiate game, and she wanted that last steal, but it got to the point where it was, they got to get her out and make sure she's healthy with some big games coming up this week. But yes, Aubrey Galvin, Michaela Blakes. I'd struggle to find a backcourt more exciting to watch in the country.
I guess I'm just trying to tell everybody they're all worth watching. I know we're in football season, and that makes it tough, but just if you hear that they're on TV. Okay, because I know so many games are streamed now, and however you want to watch it, take the opportunity to watch them play because there are some special players involved.
Yes, and Vandy soccer in the Elite Eight Saturday as well.
Right. Just 6:30.
Yes, kick against TCU to go to the Final Four. Cory, hope you have a great Thanksgiving with your family, and Ava still in studio. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving as well, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you very much, Jake. Have a good call on the game.
Appreciate it. That'll do it for us. Vandy men's basketball coming up next. Hope everyone out there has a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you on Monday on 102.5 The Game.